All right, Ruthann, today on TalkCDL, we've got dedicated runs versus the OTR thing. We've got a traffic law that was just made for truckers that we've never known about. We discovered this week from Howard the lawyer. We'll be talking about the masking law, and it's only for commercial drivers. I'll bet nobody ever even knew this law existed in our audience. Well, maybe somebody did. I don't know. We're also going to be talking about the top 10 traffic bottlenecks in the country. Mm-hmm. Woohoo! And plus, the word of the day with Ruthann. And we also got some trucking shout outs from the trucking show in Florida this past week. In fact, just to mention the truck show this week, what was it, Fort Lauderdale we were in?
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah, and it was actually overwhelming. I did not realize that it was going to be that big. It was, I thought, and this was the first. These are a set of people that have the Texas trucking show. They have the California trucking show. They just started doing trucking shows in the last couple of years. And they said Houston. And my guess is because the Dallas truck show hasn't been in like 2 or 3 years. And and we were looking to see if Dallas, what's that called? GATS? Mats is Louisville and GATS is Dallas. And it doesn't seem that GATS is in existence anymore, so people are now flocking to this Houston trucking show that was a huge hit last year, and I think it was the second year that's growing, and they introduced... Here's what I didn't think. They said, okay, we're going to have a trucking show, and we're doing it in Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. And you know how long Florida is, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, obviously, that's why Orlando is so popular, because you can just get into Florida a couple hours and you're there. You're at your destination. Fort Lauderdale, man, you got to get down there in that slightly insane traffic.
Slightly insane. You argued with our Garmin.
Oh my gosh, the Garmin kept.
It would say light traffic ahead, and Troy's response would be, "This is not light traffic. Shut up. This isn't light traffic. If you say that one more time, I'm going to hurt you." Yeah. I mean, he's threatening the dashboard, basically.
Yeah, well. So anyways, awesome show. It was fully booked. There wasn't an empty table. Nope. We did a lot of video work there. In fact, we have a video that's going to be coming out with remote control tractor trailers, parading around. It was really pretty neat looking. Mm-hmm. It's going to be for the kids and for those big truckers that are kid at heart. So, you got a shout out list for?
I do.
It's interesting. We didn't think about this till day 2. Just to let everybody know, we said, okay, how about we'll do a sign up list? And the last day was not as crowded because of the incredible rain that we got down there. Yeah. I mean, when I say incredible rain, the parking lots were almost up to your knee because there's nowhere for water to go down in South Florida. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? At our hotel, we had to call the valet. I'm glad we had a valet, and they had rain boots on to get your vehicle out of the garage because the water was that deep. So it hindered the last day, but man, Saturday was a smash hit. It was so packed there with people wanting to see the truck show. And Ruthann said, let's do a shout out list. So we didn't think about that till the day that, it got less people. So, because the first day we didn't sit down at all. We were literally
we were really busy.
People,
a lot of people coming up saying hi to us.
We listened to your show. That was really cool. I love
it. I wish we were able to say hi to every one of them more.
God, how many?
There's a couple of them that slid right past us, grabbed one of our cards, and said, "Hey, I listen to you all the time." I really wish I would have loved to give you a hat. So you kind of ran past me too fast. I couldn't even hand you a hat.
Some of them thought, because we had our podcast and video equipment there, I think some of them thought they were going to be on film. So they were like, hey, and they shook your hand and
ran.
And, we listen to you guys all the time. Thanks a lot. And like you said, if you'd have stuck around for a second or two, a lot did stick around.
Oh, yeah.
And you were wanting to give out hats. So no worries. I think we're going to be at the Louisville Truck Show. Mm-hmm. And Lord willing, we'll have a booth there also.
It was a little quiet. The reason we're doing our shout outs now is because it was too loud there to do any of our podcast. So I'm going to give what I have here. Advanced Truck Parts.
Shout out to you.
Yeah. Add Adenali. I had it said right. I couldn't do it now.
Adenali what?
It just says Adenali. So I think it was they were up on the right. So they were. I don't think it was logistics, but it was one of those.
So shout out to Adenali.
Yep. Jobsandtrucks.com.
Shout out.
Independence Insurance Agency with Lewis Reese.
Shout out to them.
Truckparkingclub.com. Evan Shelley.
Way to go, Truck Parking.
Platinum Truck Sales, Broadway Chrome Sales, and JT Heavy Truck Detailing.
Woohoo for the detailers.
Howard Miner's Vehicle Installs.
Howard Miner. Good job, brother.
MEB LLC, which is Maurice Brown.
Maurice Brown. Way to go.
Truckstop.com.
Truckstop.com. All right. You know what? I always go on truckstop.com and I check. In case you guys are ever wanting to know what the rates are doing in the United States, it's real quick. Just go to truckstop.com and click on view all rates. And from flatbed, drive-in, LTL, heavy haul, everything is in there. And it'll show you the current up to the second. It gets refreshed every so many seconds. And you literally can say, okay, this is what flatbed freight is paying today. Mm-hmm. This is like an average across the board. And it not only, it'll show the posted rates and it'll show the paid rates too. Mm-hmm. So truckstop.com, glad they stopped to say hi.
MIK Freight.
MIK.
And then we had our neighbors there, HD Kits.
HD Kits. What's the ones on the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. Who were the ones on the left that gave us the flooring?
Axon Development.
Axon, man, they had the coolest projector. So.
Mm-hmm. And then across from us was the guy, Power Brake.
Power Brake, they were pretty cool. They were talking to us. Mm-hmm. And we did a lot of videoing. We also met a lot of owner-operators.
We did.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. Those guys, the one guy, I interviewed him a little bit. His name was Johnny. Mm-hmm. He had it was a 1998. I think it was a 98 or a 94 International, with the hood. Mm-hmm. And he had a brand new motor in this thing. It was a big old cat he put in it. And I'm telling you, this thing was immaculate. It was orange and the inside was just breathtaking. I had the video I'm going to be putting up then. But, these owner operators, just amazing the way they just, obviously you're not going to make as much money probably when you have a show truck that you're using, because most of these guys actually use their show truck for their work, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And a lot of the guys in South Florida that I met that were owners down there, a lot of them were reefer haulers, and they would literally, they get loads from there to the famous Hunts Point. Those guys don't mind it. If you live in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Hunts Point's not much different in traffic. So these guys run up to Hunts Point every week and back, and they got some incredible trucks. They're real good at what they do. Their work looks amazing. Everything shines so nice. And it looks good enough to be in a truck show. So, shout out to every one of those owner-operators that were talking to us and brought their truck in for everybody to see.
There are some really beautiful ones. I don't know. I would never be able to be one to judge them and pick my favorite, because I would have to do like my hourly favorite, because I would like too many of them. I would be able to do a top one.
Right. There was Peterbilts and Freightliners and that International, if I'm being honest, that International probably was, and there were some gorgeous 379s there, but I'm going to tell you that International was super amazing. I mean, a lot of people, would, in fact, we're going to be talking about the number one truck here for making money a little later. Mm-hmm. But the International, I will tell you, that kind of stole the show. That truck was just hot, baby. It was hot. So.
It was the groat in his
Yeah. So listen, real quick, we're going to move on from the truck show part here. If you're going to be in Louisville, look Ruth Ann and I up. We'll have a hat for you. We'll be there doing some podcast interviews. You can stop in and sit down with us, and we'll put you on the show for a minute or two. I'd like to kind of get a couple, maybe 1 to 2, 3 minute interviews with some interesting drivers and everybody.
Once we know what our booth number and stuff will be, we'll let you know, but we really don't know what our booth number is yet.
Yeah, unless you got a crystal ball. But anyways, which doesn't work. So moving on. Hey, let's mention a couple sponsors real quick. I wanted to mention DriveWise. I mean, not that I don't like everybody else. I love all of our sponsors. But the reason I want to mention DriveWise is because I met 1 million owner-operators this past week, and most of them never heard of DriveWise.
Crazy.
I was like, wow, dude, seriously. Like, and these guys are like, so as an owner-operator, I can bypass the scales also? And I'm like, dude, yeah, you don't have to be a big trucking company to be able to get hooked up to where you can bypass the scales. Just go on DriveWise, DriveWyze. We showed them, and I said, just sign up for it, download the app, and you can start bypassing the scales, man. He said, so I don't have to go in the scales. I said, nah, if you get the green light, you don't have to go. And he's like, man, I'm going to be checking that out. So any one of you guys, and big companies too. I mean, big companies have saved a lot of money by switching over from the competitor. But if you're a small owner operator guy, seriously, and I know I made this commercial a little long, but why not? I mean, come on, guys. DriveWise. I mean, nobody wants to go in the scale. You got to be a glutton for punishment if you're like, oh, come on, I sure hope they give me the light to go in the scale.
Says no one.
Says nobody. So, anyways, go to DriveWise. That's DriveWyze.com. Sign up and let them know TalkCDL sent you over there, okay? Next, we've got National Carriers, Ruth Ann. National Carriers got those beautiful big blue Kenworth T680s. They're hiring for over the road, southeast, southwest. They've got all kind of things going on, and they have lease and full benefits for all their drivers that are not lease drivers. Check them out at 888-311-7076. And they love to hear it, like if a driver's in orientation, they love to hear that, hey, I'm here because of TalkCDL. So 888-311-7076. Go check them out. Plus, they have their own freight, no broker loads. And then last but not least, we have Carter Lumber.
Carter Lumber has been looking for Class A and Class B drivers.
Yeah. And it's home every day.
Home every day.
And they'll also take drivers that are non-CDL.
Yes, and right out of school.
Yeah, so if you're a driver just graduating school and you want to be local, home every day, Carter Lumber has 160 plus locations east of the Mississippi. Chances are they have a job near you if you want to be home every day, especially you guys getting out of school. You're not wanting to be over the road. Most drivers that come out of school, Ruth Ann, have to sign up with a company that goes over the road. There's not many local training companies.
Right.
Carter Lumber will do it. And that's to get with Carter Lumber, just go to carterlumber.com/TalkCDL. They have a little short form. Fill it out and they'll bring you in. Again, it's www.carterlumber.com/TalkCDL. Moving on. So, I don't even have my computer in front of me. Here we go. All right, so Ruth Ann.
I got an eyelash poking me in the eyeball.
And, all the truckers were like, wow, that's an interesting fact. Ruth Ann's got an eyelash poking her in the eyeball. Wow.
Well, if they're looking at the video and they see me poking my eye.
Let's tune into TalkCDL and so watch Ruth Ann pick her eyeballs. Okay. So, anyways.
They're
Ruth
secretly
Ann,
saying, stab it.
Okay, so here's a question I'm posing. Because I've talked to drivers over the years that legitimately have dedicateds and they have over-the-road jobs, right?
Right.
And a lot of them say they would rather not a dedicated. What do you think? Like, just off the top of your head, not naming any certain dedicated just yet, where would you be in the scheme of that? Would you rather a dedicated where you're going to the same place every single time?
I think I would rather be OTR. I don't think I would want to be going to the same exact spot all the time. And
I agree with that. I mean, I really do, but a lot of drivers like their dedicated. But just play along with me here for just a second, okay? You're trucker Ruth Ann again.
Woo.
Okay, there you go. You just pulled off your brakes. All right.
I had to take a stop so I can listen to you.
Okay, so you pulled in to listen to me. In your what are you driving now?
I'm a Western Star.
Oh, you're in a Western Star. Good girl. I like that. Okay, so here you are, trucker Ruth Ann. You're driving now. Okay. All right, and you're running a dedicated from Texas to Florida and back.
It's not a bad dedicated.
That's a good one, right? But guess what?
What?
After like say 6 months, you're stopped for the same old traffic in Louisiana every week, running across 10. You're stopped in the Houston traffic every week. Here comes Trucker Ruth Ann again. Oops, there's that same crack in the road you see every time. Seriously, think about that.
Mm-hmm.
You've been seeing it now for 6 months to a year. There's that same road sign you pass all the time, man. It's up, there it is again. There's the same buildings you see. You might even be watching trees grow. I'm just being honest. This is what a lot of drivers told me that had dedicateds. That they were on dedicated runs. And a lot of guys look for dedicateds, but then when they get on them, it's like, time to make the donuts.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like every week, here I go. And, I've run different areas. In fact, remember I used to run Chicago, and I did that for 3 years. And I'm not kidding you. I could literally pick out, I knew the turns on 80, every turn on Interstate 80. I knew them, from when I would get on usually in either Danbury or Sunbury, depending on how I went up over the mountain there. And I would get on 80 and I would run across, all the way across. And then I remember that little hill going into Ohio. I remember the only one sort of steep hill in Ohio going across 80, which wasn't much. You just, every single, the T5, stopping in Toledo. Remember the truck stops there? It's just everything. You get into Gary. We used to go to Steel City, and it was just every single week after week after week after week. Okay, across 80 back, across 80, and then every now and then I would mix it up. And this was the only good thing about it, because I was running for an owner-operator, was like if it was really, really nasty weather up on 80 and I knew there was a bad storm up there, I'd just drop down. Like if I was coming out of Chicago, I'd just drop down 65 there and come across 70, which in my mind, it would be a lot warmer. But of course it's not. You're still in Indiana. You're still going across. But, I'm like, okay, I'll be in the southern part. Yeah, man. Woo-hoo. Maybe I can take my jacket off. But no, seriously, it was still freaking cold. But a lot of times the roads were drier. But after you run 70, you're in Breezewood, you're in Stanton, Stanton where you get on, on the turnpike from 70. And it's just, you get to know the road so much. Right. After a couple of years, man, I'm being honest, the dedicated's nice, but it kind of sucks after so long doing it. So I'm just posing that question. I really believe that over the road, man, you know what I liked about OTR? I loved not knowing where I was going until, what I'm saying? Like, okay, I haven't gotten my next load yet. And I'm like, okay,
I'm in Dallas. Where am I going next?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I would be somewhere and I'd be like, I would be excited. Like, all right, man, I hope I'm going to Florida. Especially in the wintertime, you're like, man, I hope I'm going south. That's everybody wants to go south. But in the summer, you get a load like up to Washington or Maine or somewhere really deep up. And you're like, awesome, let's do this, So I kind of really like the over-the-road. Now, I will tell you, for the over-the-road guy, and this is one of the things that trucking companies BS a driver on, they'll say, yep, we're a 48 state carrier driver. Come on and work for us, right? And then they get there and all they do is East Coast.
Yeah. They're not really true 48. Right. You'll hear, in fact, that's one of the things that you might end up hearing later if you're ever talking to a recruiter. They'll say, you might ask them, and they'll say that they're a 48 state carrier, or they'll say, we're a true 48. So if you ever hear them say we're a true 48, that means they go to all the states.
Well, I would ask them, still could be a lying recruiter.
Well, recruiters never lie.
Neither do lawyers or dispatchers.
No.
They're all really honest people.
And I got a bridge that I'd love to sell you.
And truckers don't lie either. No, but seriously, I hated that. I've gone to trucking companies and they'll be like, "Yep, we're a 48 state carrier." Just because you're licensed to run 48 states, well, how often do you actually go to, And I was never a big California guy. I never really wanted to run out there that much. I didn't want the super coupes. I didn't want to have to run 55 miles an hour. That's the truck speed out there, and so I didn't really want to go out there. But I still liked going everywhere else. I liked going up to Seattle, and I loved going to Phoenix. All that stuff. And I didn't always get those runs, obviously. And I'll tell you something else that used to piss me off. You want to know what it was?
Probably a lot.
Well, here's the deal. If you work for a company, and you guys probably know this, all right, or maybe you're going to go, but if you work for a company that has teams, right, they value those teams more than they value you as a solo. And what used to tick me off was the whiny teams. And I'm not saying every team's a whiner, but the whiny teams that worked for Elderlight when I was there, right? They would get the Seattle runs and all that other crap. Man, they were hammering, right? Which is cool because you get the long runs as a team. I respect that. But come January and February and December, those teams, they didn't want them. We as solos, we would get offered to run over cabbage and all through the snow, everything, because the teams were afraid to run up into the Northwest. So they whined until they got the southern runs, right, and stayed south until the better weather got, and a lot of companies do that for their team. They really do. It's true. So if you're a driver and in the wintertime, you get offered them damn, Rocky Mountain runs, okay? And then in the summer, when it would be awesome to go up there, you never see it. That's because the teams are running it, and they value them teams because those team trucks make more money because those trucks just keep going.
Right.
And I might have said something that pissed somebody off, but it's true. It is
true.
Freaking truth.
You can't hide that. That's a true, honest fact.
Yes. So for you, it would be OTR and not dedicated, right?
I think so. I like the idea of dedicated because you can have things planned out. And every detail.
They have their advantages, you're saying.
Right. They do have their advantages, but I think I am one that would be more of the, as long as I know what I'm doing, like, how now with recruiting, they have what, your pre-planned where you're where you're going for.
You mean dispatch?
Yeah. So you'll know where you're going for maybe the next 2 to 3. Yeah. So I think I would like that. That would be my ideal. I think
that is nice when okay, for the next 10 days, here's my plan.
Right. And you can plan it out and you can get all excited over it and say, this is where I want to go eat. Because I know like some people, that's the thing that's our thing, at least. Hey, we're going to go back up to Chicago. Let's go stop at this place here that we used to get really good food at, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we are foodies. So, just real quick before we move on, my ideal would be, okay, give me a dedicated. Now, and every trucker wants a Southern dedicated, which is really hard to find. You drivers that are looking for like those Southern dedicated runs, if there is a beautiful run that exists, there's 10 million people already ahead of you. You probably have to go with a trucking company that has those dedicateds and then just get in line for it. I mean, that's really the best way. If you want to get on a really good dedicated, find out who has them and then get with them and start on the bottom, because you sure ain't going to start on the top, because I guarantee you there's already a million people wanting that run. But what I was thinking is, just for example, that Florida, Texas dedicated, that'd be really cool if you can do that and then have an agreement with dispatch that, listen, every couple months, I'm going to want to take a load somewhere else, but I don't want to lose my dedicated. You know what I mean? Just to break up the monotony.
I want my cake and I want to eat it too.
Yes, exactly. I want to be spoiled. I was talking to a truck driver yesterday, and he goes, I'm looking for a job. I go, okay, are you? Did you find one? And he said, well, I'm interviewing companies. I said, awesome, man. And he said, I'm out there searching, but new trucks are hard to get in right now. He said, I'm really picky about trucks. He said, if I'm going into a trucking company and it's me and 2 other drivers and they have 3 trucks available and there's only one brand new one, I expect that truck. I said, oh, so So when you go to a trucking company, you're telling the two drivers sitting in orientation with you that you're special and they're not. I said, I would love to see a trucking company agree with that. I mean, come on, dude. You know, you think because you're meticulous and about your truck that the other two drivers aren't as important as you. You know, I know every trucking company that I ever worked for most of them would never treat a driver like that.
No.
And when a new truck comes in, a real good trucking company is going to give that new truck to their senior drivers.
Right.
Because the senior drivers, especially, and when I say senior drivers, what a trucking company means by a senior driver, a driver that's been at that company for the last so many years, they already take care of the trucking company. They already take care of the custom.
They showed what kind of person they are.
Right. They haven't abandoned the company. And so anybody that walks in the door thinking that they deserve what that guy that's been taking care of the company, you guys are crazy thinking that way. You know, I've talked to drivers over the years saying, for example, they'll say something like, hey, when I go into a trucking company, I don't run the Northeast because I've done my share of the Northeast. And I always say to them, yeah, but you didn't do your share for that company. So let's say you go to a trucking company that has 100 trucks, right? And they have, you know, X amount of drivers there that have been running the Northeast for them, right? And guess what? Those drivers, they've done their share. But when you walk into a company and say, well, you know, I've run the Northeast for 10 years and I don't do it anymore. Well, then don't expect to go to that trucking company, because to them, they've got other drivers that have done their share, that they're taking care of. The guy that gets taken care of is the guy that has taken care of the company.
Right.
You guys should all know that. I'm just saying off the top, you know, if you want to know how it works, if you guys want to know how it works, that's how it works. So let's move on.
Moving on.
She's looking at me like, Troy, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Moving on. All right. So, are you ready for this, Ruth Ann? The masking law.
Oh,
When we met,
yes.
We met Trucker Howard, and I'm going to try to get Trucker Howard on the show. He wants to come on. He's a guy that actually helps truckers. Awesome. We met him at the show. He came up. He's there. I'm just really wanting to know truckers even more, because I've been, you know, doing a lot of work for helping them with their driver's licenses. And this guy was sincere. I mean, he was like really super nice trucker. And you guys are going to want to meet Howard, I call him Howard the lawyer. Super nice guy to talk to, real easygoing. Him and his wife, we met him, and he started telling us about a law that's against truckers, because we were talking about how, all right, if you get a ticket that's like 15 or above, or you get a reckless or whatever, right? You're trucker Ruth Ann, you get a reckless driving, or you get a 15 over, right? So you go to court and you do what? You ask the judge to what?
Reduce it.
Exactly.
Get rid of it. Let's I'll pay, but let's expunge it.
Exactly. And we give that advice on the show, right? We tell all these truckers, listen, don't plead guilty to a ticket. This law is going to blow your. And by the way, I had a guy write in saying, Troy, you really need to get to the point. you're killing me. He's like, get to the damn point. No, I'm going to get to the point. All right.
Soon.
Here's the tick tock, tick tock, tick. No, but seriously, check this out. The masking law for truckers only. This is a trucker law only. It is. Are you ready?
Ready.
It is a federal offense for a court to change anything on a trucker's license. They are not. Let me read it to you. I looked up, and I'm going to get him on to talk about it more if I can get him on a little bit later. Okay, so the masking law. Check this out. It says to help ensure that driver records are accurate. Are you ready for this? It says accurate and timely information about the driving history of CDL holders, masking law. To help ensure that driver records are accurate, the FMCSA regulations prohibit masking. Listen to this, which occurs when a court, I'm going to say this again, they prohibit masking which occurs when a court allows the conviction of a CDL holder for a traffic violation to be deferred, dismissed, or unreported. How crazy is that?
totally crazy.
But that blew my mind. Because I even said to the lawyer, listen, I always advise these guys, never plead guilty. In fact, we have state police at a company I worked at in Pennsylvania. The state police used to come in once a year, and they would sit down with truckers in a safety meeting, and they would say, listen, if you get a ticket in your tractor trailer, and it's a bad one, do not plead guilty. Go to court. He said, throw yourself on the mercy of the court. What's the worst that can happen? They say no. He said, most likely they will reduce your ticket. And this is what the lawyer said. He said, this is where he really wants to help truckers, because these states know that a trucker isn't going to, take time off to go. He lives in, say, Pennsylvania, and he's got a ticket in California, right? He's not going to take time off to go there, hire a lawyer, and fight the ticket. It's a lot easier to just plead guilty. And when a lot of these tickets they end up getting screwed because now they can't get jobs.
Right, exactly. And we've been told, don't do that. Pay for the lawyer. It might cost. In fact, we talked to a guy, Legal Shield, that was in Delaware. He even said the same thing. Pay for the lawyer. It's a few $100s, but it's so important to just let the lawyer do what they know they're doing to help you. And in return, your license that you use to provide for your family is not going to be hindered. If it is, it's not going to be as dramatic or life-threatening to your career.
100%, like you just said, the $100 or a couple $100 you spend, even if you spend $1,000, it's going to cost you more in the long run by losing good jobs or not being able to get a job, sitting at home, not working, if you get a bad enough ticket. Don't plead. I've seen guys, Ruthann, they get a careless driving and they just think, well, I got to keep working. I'll just stay at this company. So then they end up, pleading guilty to a damn careless driving, right, that they should have never even got, because it's a judgment. A careless driving is a judgment call on a cop. That's all it is. And I'm not putting cops down. I'm just saying, when a trucker gets a careless or a following too close, like say you're in traffic and some guy brake checks you and the cop didn't see it, and he goes, oh, that trucker's following too close. Let's give him a following too. So then the next trucking company doesn't want to hire you, or you think, okay, I'll plead guilty and I'll just stay at this trucking company. And then the trucking company either reduces or goes out of business, or they terminate you, or you find another better job that you want to leave and go to, and guess what? You can't go because of that ticket. Don't plead freaking guilty. Now listen to this, I got the definition. Listen to this. Okay. This is the anti-masking regulation states. The state must not mask, defer, opposition of judgment, or allow any individual to enter a diversion program, the one that you just took for your speeding ticket, that would prevent a CDL holder's conviction for any violation. You guys are legally, they are not allowed to even do. A judge is not allowed to even say, okay, he's a class A, let's help him out. It says in any type of motor vehicle. So that means if you're a trucker and you get a ticket in a freaking car, they ain't allowed to do it because you have a CDL. It says of a state or local traffic control law, from appearing on the driver's record, whether the driver was convicted for an offense committed in the state where the driver is licensed or another state. You guys can look it up. 49 CFR 384.226, the masking law. Guys, look it up. CFR 384.226. And you know what he also told us? Here's the good side of it. Trucker lawyer, what are we calling him? Howard the lawyer. I'm gonna make that name stick. Howard the lawyer told us that most courts will help you.
Yeah, because they know that's your livelihood and your home.
Right.
In fact, there was a couple of lawyers that came by and were talking to us, and the one lady, I think it was Christina. She said, that's your home, that's your livelihood. There's, when you go in front of the judge, they have to understand you have no homestead. That is it. So if they do something she dealt with bankruptcy. So she had a lot of good advice for drivers that had to clear out debt and how they were able to keep their truck. So, there is a lot. We learned a lot about that aspect of trucking as far as the laws and what lawyers are dealing with and how much they really, truly want to help the driver. I mentioned Legal Shield, just one of the programs that are there to help drivers, different stuff. It's really, really nice to see how many people are out there actually trying to help a truck driver versus so many out there that want to do nothing but complain about them.
And, Ruth Ann, that's awesome what you just said, because, a lot of people, make fun of lawyers, but there are some really good ones. And I believe in my heart, this guy was like, I just wanted, because this guy's been a lawyer for 30 some years.
Yeah.
So, he's probably got like a couple $1 billion, stuffed in his mattress. but at the same time, here's a guy that's like, I want to help these people. Mm-hmm. So he really has compassion for the trucker. And he did tell me, he said, most of the time you go to court and you plead it, they're going to help you. He said, but there are some courts where the judge will say, it's a federal offense for me to do this. I am not going to break the law. He said, my hands are tied. I can't help you. I'm sorry. So there are some that stick to it, but most of them don't even know the actual rule, the law. And guys, check it out. And that, again, that's 49 CFR 384.226 called the masking law, and it's for truckers. So moving on, Ruth Ann.
Moving on.
Okay, so you want to talk about the top 10 bottlenecks in the United States? CDL Life has this article out this week, which we met them also at the show this week. And what's funny? That, bottlenecks suck. Everybody knows when you're coming into an area as a truck driver and, you're like, oh, man, look at all the brake lights. Oh, and in fact...
That's what he does.
Well, of course. And to be honest with you, if you've been running long enough, you already know before you get there's going to be a freaking bottleneck. I used to whine about Chicago all the time, every time. In fact, when I was a driver, I had that dedicated out of Chicago I mentioned earlier. I used to wait till midnight. I would wait purposely till midnight. I'd sit at a truck stop and then go in after midnight, or I'd time it to where I was getting there late to where the traffic was a lot lighter.
Yes, he would.
So I'm just going to read the list. I just want to read the list for everybody. The number 10 bottleneck in the United States. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. San Bernardino, California, I-10 at I-15. So where they intersect there, that's the number 10. Number 9, Nashville. Over there at the country western Nashville Grand Ole Opry place, I-24, I-40 at I-440 East. That's where the bottleneck happens in Nashville every day. Los Angeles has number 7 and 8. The number 8 is at the I-710 and the I-105. And number 7 is in Los Angeles at the State Road 60 at State Road 57. Big bottleneck. You ready? Mm-hmm. Here, Chicago, my favorite place, has 2 of them. Number 5 is Chicago at the I-290 and the I-90, I-94 interchange. The number 5 is number 5 and number 6, believe it or not. These are rated, studies done on this. Atlanta, I-20 and I-295, or 285 rather. It's funny, you and I, whenever we go to Atlanta, we zip right through there.
Pretty much,
It's pretty cool.
If we slow down, it's just minor slowing down.
Yeah, and I-285 and I-85, that's the number 4 and number 5 spot, which is in Atlanta. Number 3, boom, I-45 at I-69/US 59, and that is Houston, Texas. Number 2, here we go, the top 2.
Florida wasn't mentioned yet, so it's got to be in there.
No, actually, it's not. Florida is not in here. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And I was surprised at number 1, but then again, I haven't been running in a long time. Number 2 is where I used to say I-294 and 290 / I-88 in Chicago. That's the big bottleneck.
So Chicago's got 3 of them so far?
You know what sucked about Chicago? No, Chicago has 2. You know what sucked about Chicago? It sucks about it is I-65, I-90, I-94, 294, 30, or is it 30 or 33? All these roads, you cannot sneak into Chicago in a tractor trailer. Exactly, tip and toe. You can't tiptoe into Chicago. You are going to find a backup every freaking turn you make. Okay. Number 1, you ready for this? Fort Lee, New Jersey. And they said for the last 4 years, it's a port. That's why. Fort Lee, New Jersey, I-95 and State Road 4. They said that is an insane. So anything that is more insane than Chicago, I don't even want to go near. And you would think New York would have something in there. But you know what? That's part of New York, I guess. Fort Lee, New Jersey, it's probably. So there you have the top 10 bottlenecks in the United States. Aren't you glad we live in a small fishing town, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Me 3. Okay. So, I've got something else I just want to just mention real quick. The number one truck for making money. What do you think it is? I'm going to name the trucks: Freightliner, Peterbilt, International, Kenworth, Mack, Volvo, and whatever else truck that I'm missing. I did say International, I think. Okay. All those trucks, they're the top trucks in the United States that are used for delivering freight. And believe it or not, they all have over-the-road trucks. What do you think the number one truck... Okay, well, let's put it this way. What do you think the number one truck every trucker wants?
Every trucker wants a KW.
And a Peterbilt.
Yeah.
Peterbilt and KW. But that is not the number one truck.
No, it's not.
It's, and in fact...
For you got to describe it better. Number one truck for
making money.
There you go.
If you're an owner operator and you're buying a truck, this is the truth. What's really funny is I talked to a couple guys at the show about this. I've talked to trucking companies lately, and there's a trucking company that I'm really close to. I really love them. They're great people. And we were just sitting there talking a couple times, and he mentioned to me, his name is Mike. Mike mentioned to me, he said, listen, everybody wants a Peterbilt, everybody wants a Kenworth, but the problem with that is when you go to work on it, he said the labor is almost double. He said of everything else. He said parts are through the roof. Half the time you can't even find parts for Kenworth right now. He said, so yeah, every truck driver wants the more expensive truck, okay? But when they buy it, they realize, whoa, okay, I'm getting screwed here because my truck's sitting now. It's waiting for work, the cost of labor, and the fuel. You know what the number one truck is? Freightliner. Freightliner is the number one truck in the United States. I don't know about the world. In the United States, if you want a truck that holds up, and a lot of people are going, that's a piece of shit, man. I don't like them damn trucks that rattle box. But you know what? I've had many Freightliners, and honestly, for some reason, Freightliner, the labor, the parts are less. You can get stuff done on them right away. And guess what? And in the end, per mile, per dollar, truck drivers make more money driving a Freightliner. And no, Freightliner didn't pay me to say that. Go ahead.
I wonder if it's a specific model that's better than the others when it comes to them.
It's whatever their Aerodyne, whatever their model is. Right now it's the Cascadia. Before that it was the Columbia. Before that it was the FLD. Before that I don't even know what it was. Okay, I would almost have to guarantee that the Coronado does not do as well as the Cascadia because obviously it's more expensive and the parts are probably more expensive. I would just imagine that the Cascadia, and believe it or not, an automatic, not a stick shift. I know a lot of guys that are old school, they don't want an automatic, but at the same time, you cannot, and I've had drivers argue this, you cannot, drivers, get the same miles per gallon in your stick shift as you can in an automatic. And I'll explain why real quick, because we're just about ready to wrap the show up, Ruth Ann.
We are.
Ruth Ann's like, TikTok. Ruth Ann's going away to Jacksonville, by the way, her and our daughter.
Well, you have an appointment too.
Right. But no, so check this out. The automatic transmission, and I'll end it here, versus the stick. The torque converter on the automatic transmission for all of them will not allow you to mash on the fuel and pop a wheelie. It will not.
Can you see?
I'm just saying. I've mentioned this before. Truck drivers that are running stick shifts, they're in traffic at a red light, and you could tell they're trying to keep up with traffic because their truck is like coming, like seems like the front. Yeah, it's trying to come off the ground. You're torquing, and all your fuel is going out your stacks when you do that. So starting and stopping is a big factor in fuel efficiency, and the torque converter will not run the RPMs. It will not torque. It will just pull out slowly the way it's designed to, and you'll get way better fuel miles. And that's why I don't care. You can try to shift at 1,200 RPMs or less and baby it all you want. You are not going to beat that automatic transmission. Ruthann, that is my podcast for the week. Thank you for joining me.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm glad to have you.
That's right. You're always here. You're glad to have me. All right. And guys, I'm going to try to splice in a little interview with Howard the lawyer, if I can get him on the show a little later. I think he's going to come on and talk about it a little more. So with that being said, Ruthann, do you have the word of the day?
I do.
What do you got? What do you got? Let me turn your thingy up. Go ahead.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's try this one more time.
Fail.
This happened once before to me.
Yeah? So it's not playing?
No,
it's okay.
It acts like it can't do it.
Okay, so just pronounce it. You don't have your mute on.
No.
All right.
Snollygoster.
Snollygoster? Really?
Yeah.
I would have liked to hear her say that.
Snollygoster.
Snollygoster. So what is does it have anything to do with the nose?
No.
What's a snollygoster? Does it have anything to do with Harry Potter?
No.
Because it sounds like something like you would be, watching a movie and Harry would say, get the snollygoster.
No, it's not.
What is it?
It's a shrewd, unprincipled person, especially a politician.
They are all snollygosters. I've never met a politician that's not a snollygoster, except DeSantis. No, I shouldn't say that.
I was really hoping to have it.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. Ruthann?
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for the word of the day by Word Genius. We always want to plug them. They're not a sponsor, but we sure love to advertise for them because they make us smarter. And you know what? Snollygoster. I am going to start using snollygoster whenever I talk about somebody shrewd. I'm going to go, that dude is a snollygoster. It's got to be an English word. Is it English?
They think it came from Germany.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sounds more like English.
German, mid-19th century.
Wow. Ruthann, we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.